All right, everybody, let's jump right into it. That way we don't waste any time. We're going to talk about how to rescue your crowdfunding campaign if it's stalled out or if you're just not seeing the backers that you thought you were going to see. Here are some. I'm going to give you some tips and techniques that I use on my crowdfunding calls and how I advise clients or potential clients when they're in this situation. And I know the situation right now probably for you feels, really crappy. You don't have the momentum you thought you were going to have. You're probably starting to realize a whole bunch of stuff that maybe you didn't do enough pre-marketing. So I'm sure there's a bunch of thoughts going through your head. You've probably gotten a ton of emails from agencies saying, give me money, I'll help you. Give me my money, I'll help you. I want you guys to know that I'm the opposite of that. I don't want your money. I just want you to watch this webinar, get your crowdfunding campaign funded, get that project off the ground, and then go from there. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. That way we don't waste any time, and let's go. All right, here we go. Let's do this. So who is this webinar for? So if you're a reward-based crowdfunding project creator right now, this is definitely for you. You also are probably struggling with a campaign. You haven't hit your goal. That you're watching the days go by and you're just not seeing the traffic that you want to see. This is for people who just want to get better at marketing your campaign. So maybe you think that the product's really good and you're seeing traffic to your page, but you're not getting that conversion. So we can talk a little bit about that as well. And obviously for people that might have got this, that just, you're almost at your goal, but you really want to hit some stretch goals. There's definitely some techniques in this as well for you. So I'm going to keep this webinar fairly short. It's going to be about 40 to 45 minutes. So let's just jump right into it. So this, over the next couple minutes, you're going to see me, talk about how to reverse engineer a successful campaign. Why, if you're not in your crowdfunding video, that's going to be something I talk about as well. You got to be in it. I got to see who you are. And I'm going to talk a little bit about myself just to show you, why I do crowdfunding and how I've gotten to this point. And also, we're going to talk about how you don't really have to spend much money to do the techniques I'm going to talk about. So, all right. Yeah, so that's the next 45 minutes. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So what do you need to know to build a respectable campaign that you'll be proud of? What do you need to be predictable, repeatable? I want you to be able to go back to crowdfunding at some point. I imagine that if you are a small business or an entrepreneur, you probably have 10 ideas. And that's why crowdfunding is so important for you to be successful, because it is a great resource to prove viability, to, obviously to raise capital, and also to just get your product out there to see if you should be working on this anymore. And as well, I'm going to try to give you some techniques that can help you with some course correction. So a lot of stuff. Rules for today's seminar. This is not about overnight success. I'm going to give you tips and techniques that you can start tomorrow, but it's not like you're going to all of a sudden hit your goal in 24 hours just because you watched a 40-minute webinar. And I got the other thing. You've got to be passionate about this project. If right now you're weighing and you don't think that this is something that you want to do, you should just stop right now. Close out this webinar. This isn't for you as well. You really got to have passion, and you got to know that the world needs what you're working on. So why do I do crowdfunding? I'm going to give you a little background on myself, so that way you know that I'm not some guy sitting in India, shooting you some BS. I want you to know how I got to this point, because I think that's important, because trust is such a huge thing in crowdfunding on all angles, backers to project creators and project creators to agencies. If you started a campaign, I guarantee you got 100 emails from people saying, hey, give me $400 and I'll get your campaign going. Or you got companies like backer databases and all this other stuff that you can that probably reached out to you and said, if you use my system, it'll work. I get it, man. I have seen those emails. I know what they're all about. I'm the complete opposite of that. I'm here to try to give you information. I really want you to be successful, because I truly believe crowdfunding is such an important thing. So back in, I had a band called the Sugar People, and one of my things I was working on was trying to figure out how to get my music out to people. And this is MySpace days. This is even when Friendster was also popular back in the day. And I came up with an idea where through my MySpace account, I said, if you would send me 4 quarters to my P.O. box, I'll send you all my music. And I ended up getting about 6,000 people to participate in that. And what I didn't realize back in 2006 is that was actually crowdfunding. So that was my way of using social media and MySpace at the time and all that frenzy to get people to participate in my idea. And it was still to this day one of the most successful things I did, and truly put me on this idea of how to use social media for the crowd. So I'm going to show you this video here. This is actually an actual video of me shot back in the day. I used to film myself all the time. I had cameras mounted in my car, and I'm going to show this video here real quick of an actual letter that was wrote to me.
Don't know what Jonas is going to do for us. Handwritten, $1. I'm totally looking forward to hearing more music from you, Love Always. Knowing that there is somebody out there who is seeing what you're doing and appreciating it on whatever level it is. That's the real gift, you know?
Turn it up. Yeah, that was it. How about my hair back then? I used to have hair. That I will say that is one thing that's changed, is my hairline has changed quite a bit. So what is crowdfunding to me? A lot of times people ask me, why am I doing all of this stuff? Why am I helping so many project creators? What's in me? And what I tell everybody is, I don't know what another vehicle is for project creators or entrepreneurs outside of crowdfunding that makes sense. And here's my reasoning. Go to a bank. 9 out of 10 times, that bank is not talking to you. They might suggest that maybe you get a credit line through them. Well, now you're getting into credit card. Now you got to have interest rates. I don't want you building a business off of credit cards, right? Not a smart business move. Then maybe you're waiting on your grandma to die and she's going to leave you some money. Yeah, not really the best way to start a business as well. You can personally finance it. You can go take out mortgages on your house or whatever it is. I don't think that's a good idea. If you look at crowdfunding and you attach it and approach it correctly, you can prove viability as to whether or not you need to go down the rabbit hole. I think that's the most important thing. I see project creators get into more trouble when they think Kickstarter is all or nothing, meaning, hey, I got to raise $300,000 or it just doesn't work. You don't need $300,000. You probably need $3,000 to go and do a test run. Try it out in one place. Try it here, small scale something. Then scale up from there. So when people don't think of it correctly, that's when the problem starts to happen. So I'm here to just make sure that you're on point. And for me, I need crowdfunding to be successful because that's the only way I see more businesses have to hire me for website design, social media, crowdfunding consulting down the road, whatever it is. You need crowdfunding to work. So that's why it's important for each and every campaign that I talk to be successful. And it's important for you who's watching this webinar to understand that ultimately my goal is to get you successful so that you can go on to your next project, and so on and so forth. So crowdfunding is very important to me. I think it's truly the only vehicle I'm seeing right now for small businesses, because I don't see venture capital and angel investors being that great of a route as well. I've got stories on that too. If you want to email me, I'll tell you about my stories with VC. So I this is a quote from me back in the studio days. I want you to decide that you want it more than you are afraid of it. That's what this is about. I want you to decide that you really truly want it. So I'm sure you have felt a lot of this over the last few days of your campaign or even leading up to it. Who should you trust? You might be feeling like maybe your project isn't right for crowdfunding. We can talk about that. And you don't like asking for money. You just feel uncomfortable about that. And that's definitely a mind shift and a mindset you have to get into. Or maybe you're getting video views, but it's not turning into backers. We can talk about that as well. Here is the real problem. So I do coaching calls probably 20 to 30 times a week with potential clients, right? This is probably what I see. Well, it isn't probably. This is what I see around 90% of the time. This problem right here. Everybody spends all this time on the campaign page. They launch it, and then they decide to start marketing, and they're hoping for a funded project. This is not the solution. You have to start marketing prior to a campaign to launch, then build your campaign page, then you'll have a funded project. So you're not in this position right now. You're in a position where your campaign is launched, but how can we get that momentum going as fast as possible so that you can, get a successfully funded campaign? So I'm going to talk a little bit about myself again here so that, again, you have some background on me. And I'm not saying any of this stuff to brag. This is just so that you're talking to somebody who, didn't just start this last week. I'm Jeff Fuzzy Wenzel, and I'm the co-founder of Woodshed Agency. You can find that at woodshed.agency. You can also search for Groovebox Studios and Sugar People Publishing. Those are my past companies. So over the last couple of years here, I've helped projects like The Fine, Wrecking Crew, and Cream reach their funding goals. I was the ad agency on those. I've driven over $2 million through crowdfunding for myself, my own projects, as well as consulting with other clients. I've worked on large campaigns with Best Buy and Volkswagen, even the NFL. If you watched the Super Bowl, not this past year, but the year before that, you would have heard some of my music being played in the stadium, which was a great thing. I've also been on the cover of Crane's Business for my work actually in crowdfunding, not something else. I was recognized as a crowdfunding influencer and whatever, and I got to be on a cover, which was great. And I've done over 300 projects through Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Tilt, GoFundMe for a couple people. I mean, I've worked on almost every platform out there. But it wasn't always this way for me. There's no doubt about that. Watch this quick video to give you an idea. So yeah, I was a busboy. I have no issues about that. That's what it was. It was back in the day. But I learned a whole bunch of stuff. So here's another ad we love to run out there. And I think this is a really, really powerful statement. This is why I don't believe in VC as much as I do the crowd. So people with more money think they're smarter than you. Crowdfunding is how you prove them wrong. If you got a VC guy, that's one guy you got to convince that you're cool, right? And then you got to answer to him. I'd much rather answer the crowd because that makes a much better project. So there's a little ad for you. So where did this all change, man? I had a chance meeting, right? And this changed everything. Around 2009, Groovebox Studios was just getting started. And Perry Chen, the founder of Kickstarter, was in Detroit. And my partner Sean and I got a chance to meet him and tell him this idea we had for how to use the crowd in our recording studios. And he was like, oh, cool, you should check out my new project that's coming called Kickstarter. So we got to stay in touch with him, and he walked us through, just the ideas of crowdfunding, and we had a bunch in common. And we had a campaign on Kickstarter about 2 months after it launched, and we funded. And from there, it was, it just went off like gangbusters from that point on. So this was a great day back in around 2009 that we had this meeting, and it really, again, it changed everything. So again, why am I doing this type of webinar? Why am I doing free coaching calls with clients? It's because of emails like this. This, to me, is an email that is going to ultimately hurt crowdfunding and hurt project creators because they're going to be more and more jaded to the idea. And this is from a competitor of mine. They have clients, and I get it that they're doing some great stuff, but they're also doing a lot of shady stuff to project creators that I just don't believe in. So this is an email that you can see where a guy invested $5,000 in them, and after 6 days, they fired him. They fired the client. And that hurts so much in crowdfunding and my ability to have clients. It just hurts the whole thing, right? So I'm trying to avoid this as much as possible. So you want to learn? You want to go? All right. I'm hoping everybody here is saying yes, or they're nodding all their heads yes. Everybody in the webinar right now. I'm excited to tell you some of these tech tips and techniques that I use for my clients, and I'm excited to share. So let's go ahead and jump into it. First thing, I find this to be one of the biggest issues for almost every campaign that's struggling is you haven't truly crafted your story yet. If you think your story is the fact that you worked on this project for a long time, you're wrong. Every project creator has worked on something for the last 2 years, 3 years. This is my dream to get this off the ground. That's not compelling enough. We have to find a way to really pull on heartstrings. Why are you doing this? Let's just theoretically say that you came up with an idea to curve distracted drivers on text messages. We have to find that story as to why it's important to you. Why are you the trendsetter in this? Why are you the expert? And the best way to start crafting your story is to write it out. And really take yourself out of your mind and imagine that the person sitting next to you and you're reading the story to them. Are they in tears? Are they smiling? Did they get goosebumps? Are they compelled? Really got to find that. And even if you have an active campaign right now, a few tweaks of your language can help with this. Just putting up there that, hey, I need money for my project, and that's why I'm working on. We all want more money. Why are you different? Why is this something special? Why does the world need what you're working on? If you can't answer those questions, then yes, you should stop your campaign right now. The other thing is, even if you have an active campaign going on, I think there's a couple things you should go watch. Simon Sinek's TED Talk, just Google that, and also Amanda Palmer's TED Talk on the art of asking. Powerful, powerful stuff, and I think this will help you put yourself in a mindset of why should somebody back you? A lot of times people don't think about that. They just think about themselves. Like, I think this is a great thing. I think people, I want to have my successful business off of this. You have to stop and look at all your rewards, look at all your language in your video and go, does a backer want this? It's not what you want, it's what the client, the consumer wants. So these two videos will really help put your mind into the right mindset. And again, this might be just a couple tweaks to your rewards, or you're adding a new reward, or you're doing updates, and you might just change some of that language to adjust accordingly so that you're thinking about the backer. I'm not going to go through all these, but here's 10 daily actions you can be doing right now to build your crowd. Write a blog post, not about selling, but to teach. Can you teach somebody about what your project is doing for the world? Go and comment on other blogs. Connect to people in your industry. That's an important one, because those can be influencers who will help share what you're working on if you can connect them. Maybe there's a way for you to distribute some samples. Build your permission assets by one person every day. And I know you're like, what is that? What? See if you can find one new influencer every day. How do you find them? We'll get into that a little bit later. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into some of the tools I use. This is going to be the meat here. I just gave you some appetizers. I just kind of told you why we're talking about this stuff. Now I want you to go and I want you to get your notepad out and your paper out. Write down some of these tools we're using. If you have questions at the end of it, obviously shoot me an email. But I'm going to jump into 3 different phases here. We're going to talk about personal outreach, and we're going to talk about outreach in terms of expanding your audience, press. So we're going to talk about these things here. And these are things that you can start executing literally as soon as this webinar is done, and get this ball rolling to get the momentum you need. Because there is a stat out there that everybody should know, is that if you're not at 30% of your goal in the first week, you have about a 10% shot of funding. That 10% is some of the techniques we're going to talk about right now. So let's go ahead and jump in and let's do this. Here we go. All right, let me go ahead and just walk you through what you can do if your campaign is struggling. So I'm using an example by this project creator, Paul Ericole. This is a guy I talked to not too long ago. And this is a pretty typical campaign of somebody I see who's got a reasonable goal of $16,000, and they've only raised $2,200 with almost 3 weeks to go, 30 backers. This is definitely a campaign that is right for rescue crowdfunding. So I'm going to walk through some tools to use and some tips and techniques that will get momentum going to your campaign and hopefully get you funded. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So when you look at a campaign like this, the video's not bad, the rewards are okay, it's in a prototype stage, but it definitely has an audience. So when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at like, all right, I can see based on keywords who I think it would be, who would be into this, right? So bodybuilders, parents with babies could be an example too. So there's definitely an audience for this, but I can totally tell that there was definitely not enough pre-marketing strategy, and there also wasn't, and probably enough pay-per-clicks. So I'm going to walk you through kind of 3 to 4 different phases here. First phase is going to be us talking about how do we connect with our 3 F's: friends, family, and fools. So how can we find 100 backers or 100 people closest to us to back? So we're going to start with that as our first phase. Then we're going to look at what can we do to expand our audience, and then we're going to follow that up with press, and then just sort of a couple of tips or techniques that really don't cost any money but might be a great way for you to expand your audience. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So when we're looking at this campaign, I can totally tell that 30 people said they'd back, and they definitely didn't. That's not enough, right, to get that momentum going. So what we're going to try to do right now is we're going to jump into how do we get more of our close friends and family to buy in. So first thing to go to is a product called Green Inbox. I'm going to type this in. I'm going to walk you through every tool and what to be doing with it. So first tool, so check out Green Inbox. Now this does take a couple days to set up, but you're going to want to go ahead and log in, and there's 2 to 3 things that I want you to do. Definitely 2 things I want you to do, and the third one, depending if you're a B2B company, you might want to look at. So after I log in, and I've already created accounts for all these things. So this is what I want to get to here. So so the first thing I want you guys to do is to look at Facebook Friends, this one right here. And what this will do is this will connect and send a personal email to all of your Facebook friends, and it'll go to their inbox. So this, it's not a Facebook ad. It's not in Facebook Messenger. The person on the other end will get an email from you. So if we sign up for this here, and this roughly costs about 5 cents an email. So the way I do it is it will connect through your Yahoo account, which I'm not going to go through this far, but if you get to here, you just literally connect and it'll walk you through everything. But what I want you to think about is I want you to segment your audiences here, segment your Facebook friends. So you have your high school friends, then you have your coworkers, college, I don't know if you're a parent, you might have your community. So segment these people so that you can email them and choose your language appropriately. So if it's high school people, you might want to say, hey, I haven't been, this is what I've been working on for the last few years. I know we haven't chatted in a while, but I'd love if you would check this out. You might want to send them to maybe, and in your email to them, reference a reward. Send them to the, a middle tier reward. $55 from a high school person isn't some egregious number, or, maybe $100 and $100 to $50, somewhere in that ballpark. Send them to that sort of reward. Encourage them to go to that reward. So this is, and then do these for each one. And if you have a team member, if you've got 2 or 3 people of you guys working on a campaign, have everybody do this on the same day. And then also what you want to think about too is I like to do this on the launch of my campaign, and then I also like to use this tool at the very end of my campaign. So my point is, I don't want your friends and family or your community people to look you in the eyes if you don't fund, right? You want to really put some pressure on them. So if you're using this tool early in your launch, hey, you're just telling everybody this is going on. I need to get that momentum going, and I'd love if you would come and check this out. If it's something where you're at the end of the campaign, let them know, hey, it's now or never. So you want to make sure that you're choosing that language appropriately. So this is a really, really great tool for Facebook outreach and getting, again, people closest to you to know that you even have a campaign going on. I think you'll be surprised how many people will not realize that you have a campaign going on. So this is the first part of Green Inbox that I like. The second part is, let me just go ahead and log back in here as I hit back, is their Gmail outreach. Same principle, but now this is going to go to all, you're going to sign with your Gmail account, and it is going to load all your Gmail people, I think up to like 10,000 people of your contacts. And so if you and I were connected through Gmail, I might get an email from you. Now for this though, you want to do a bit of a second degree of separation. You might not know the person as well in your Gmail inbox. So you might want to send them to maybe $40 and below rewards, right? Send them to, you got to imagine, would you give $100 to somebody that you barely know through Gmail? So again, same principle, it connects, and you can, again, reach all your Gmail people all in one shot here. So really, really cool tool. Let's go back. And again, I think I said cost, but cost right now we're going to be looking at between, I think, 3 to 5 cents an email, somewhere on that ballpark. So let me see here. Now they also have a LinkedIn outreach. If you've got a B2B type of product, you might want to look at the LinkedIn one if you have a good network there. Rest of these I don't really worry about too much. So check that out, and so that's the first thing. This is, like I said, this is getting that inner circle of people, people that know you, get them to back this, to get that momentum going early in your campaign. So really, really cool tool. So let's move on to kind of expanding our audience. So with that tool, I want to use a tool called BuzzSumo. That's BuzzSumo. So let me load up this here. So what I'm going to do with this tool is, let me just go ahead and log in. So with this tool, what I'm looking for is, this is where I'm going to take my keywords and I'm going to expand my audience. I'm going to try to find a whole bunch of data of people based on my keywords who you think would be into your campaign. So if we go under influencers, and I'm going to keep using my mix to go as my example. So I've got my influence. I'm searching for influencers here, right? All right, so let me put it in weightlifting. There it is. Well, let's just try this one. I can base this on a bunch of different keywords, so I'm just going to start here. So this will show you right out of the gate. This will give you a ton of accounts. So what I want to do here is I want to get rid of journalists. I want to get rid of companies. I want to get, well, maybe I'll keep bloggers in there. So let me filter it again. So now I've got, what looks to be people that I think would be into this. And if you pay for this, and you can get, I think, a free account. I've already used up a free account. I have it off at the moment. But you can search huge lists of people, right? So first thing I do is I'll connect my Twitter account, which you can do. And then what you want to do is you want to go ahead and follow these people, right? Or you can put them into lists. But first I want to do is I like to go follow these people. And then I use a tool called Crowdfire. So I'll use a tool called Crowdfire. Let me just load this up here real quick. And what I do with Crowdfire is Crowdfire will send an automatic message to each person that follows you back. So if you go and you look at this list here and you follow everybody, you go through and follow everybody, the chances of these people following you back are fairly high, right? So if you use a tool called Crowdfire to set up an automatic message, once these people follow you back, they get an email from you. So if you set this up, and this only takes a minute, I think this is even free. If you set this up, you might be able to send, again, 300 or 400 messages, direct messages to Twitter, all behind the scenes, pointing people either to a landing page or to your Kickstarter or Indiegogo page. So low-hanging fruit, you just have to set this up and then go in and follow these people. If you think this guy, Derek Johnson, might be into your thing, follow him. And you can see based on how many followers they have, how often they retweet. You get a lot of good data here. So you can do this for each keyword that you have. So the next thing I want to do is once I have all this, I actually want to export the data. And I probably won't let me do it right now, but I export this as a CSV file. And once you have that CSV file, then I go and I use a tool called Upwork. Oop, there we go. Now once I go to Upwork and I have my data, I've got 4 or 5 lists based off my keywords of people that I think would be into this. I use this tool and I want to go ahead and find a scraper. Just type in scraper. Let's see what happens here. So as you can see here, you will have no shortage of finding these people, and you can find somebody. What you're asking them to do is you're asking them to pull the email addresses from these people, this list here, right? And they'll be able to do this. So now that you've got, you might have 3,000-4,000 emails of influencers who are into weightlifting or, again, whatever keyword. That's a lot of data. So now what do you do with that data? So now that you have these email addresses, now what I do is I go over and I take that data and I go over to a tool called QuickMail. So I sign up for QuickMail, and QuickMail will connect to your Gmail account. And what will happen here is this tool will let you send automated outboard emails and follow-ups all behind the scenes. And I strongly recommend looking at cold email strategies. So now you're cold emailing, a bunch of people who, based on your keywords, might be into your thing. And obviously the keyword is might. But now you at least have a front door. So let's just theoretically say I have the email address of Derek Johnson here, right? I have this guy's email address, American record holder, weightlifter. I can send an email that says, hey, I've been in the gym doing, working out, one of my biggest problems is protein shakes and spilling them or whatever. Have you ever had that issue? Whatever that is, whatever that front door is, you're opening the email. You know how to open their front door. You know what they're into, right? So now when you send that first email, hopefully he responds with some sort of a response. 2 days later, I send a follow-up that says, hey, I've been working on this project. I'd love to have maybe your input. What do you think is the biggest issue with, I don't know, mixing protein powders at the gym? Maybe he responds again. 3 emails, I send him to a Kickstarter Indiegogo, right? So the most important thing is, and whatever your language is, you can choose your language in your emails, but the important thing here is to remember that the person on the other end of this email is a human being, and they don't want to be sold to right away. So you have to be, witty, detective-like to, write an email with your language. That's the front door that as many people out of this list that you make want to have a conversation with you. And this tool does it as well. And then what's nice too is once you set up these sequences or these drip emails, they'll all happen behind the scenes. If somebody responds, they won't get the second email. So really, really powerful tool to send a ton of cold emails to 3,000 to 5,000 people. I will let you know too, with Gmail you can do up to 500 emails a day. So just plan accordingly, and as long as you kind of get your data in order, it should be a really, really great tool to cold email and again, driving people to your Kickstarter campaign. All right, so that's expanding our audience. The other tool you might want to look at for expanding, and this is I'll just throw this out there as well, is a tool called Ninja Outreach. Same thing as BuzzSumo in terms of finding influencers, but with this one you can search for people on Instagram. So if Instagram is in your world, or where you think some of your people are hanging out, you can search on Instagram, grab that data, and also send out emails. So you might want to look at this tool as well as BuzzSumo for expanding your audience. All right, now let's jump into press. So for this one, I love this tool, justreachout.io. I'm going to show you this one here. So with this tool, this is the tool I use for PR and press outreach inside a Woodshed agency here. And what it does is, I can probably log in here. What it'll do is it will search, again, based on your keywords, reporters who have wrote about those keywords. So right now we need a reporter who has talked about weightlifting and Kickstarters, or keyword Kickstarters, whatever it might be, right? So once you find that, what you can do here is you put that keyword in there, and it will populate. So let me just see if this will work here. So I put in, so if I put in weightlifting here, let's see what pops up. I don't know if anything will pop up. Yeah, so here are people who write about weightlifting, and this is the perfect place to start with, is right here. So I don't know if I would pitch this one, but I would, again, search for the right reporter to find, and then it gives you a really good tool to actually just click this button, and it gives you a great opportunity to pitch this person all inside of here. The other thing you can do is you can also search on Quora and Reddit for conversations based on your keywords. So even this one right here, we found 98 journalists who have wrote about weightlifting. That's a great start. Now I want to find weightlifting and Kickstarters, or weightlifting and Indiegogos, whatever it is, and pitch these people, and hopefully get some press. If you see a conversation going on Quora and Reddit, jump into those, give your opinion, talk about stuff. So this is a great opportunity to send press, because press does help on your campaigns. It's not everything, but it is a great way to have validation and get your project funded. So those are so green inbox for your inner circle, your Facebook friends, your Gmail acquaintances. We're using BuzzSumo and Ninja Outreach to help with expanding our audience, finding new people to reach out to, and then justreachout.io to help with press outreach. So now let's go ahead and back to just look at this campaign and think about maybe a couple of things we can do that don't cost any money. It's not tool driven. It's just good Kickstarter best practices. So let me load this back up here. So for this campaign, I look here, and this guy's got 30 backers right now with 22 days to go. So that's 30 people who are on board to support this. That's not a number to just brush off. So what can we do with these 30 people to get them more engaged? Something I would, and I have suggested this to Paul, and I hope he executes it, is something I call doubling down on these people. So what I'm asking them to do is I would do a backer-only update. So the update is only for the backers. It's not public. And I would ask these 30 people to give me 5 email addresses of their friends and family that they think would be into my campaign. So the way I set this up is I'll go to Typeform, Wufoo, Google Forms, some form generator, and I would just simply ask first name, last name, and 5 email addresses. Then when you get, and I would find an incentive. So what can you incentivize these 30 people? Can they put their logo on it? Can they put their name on it? I don't know. Find some way to incentivize them so they get 2 of an order. So they obviously they get that incentive if they give you the email addresses. So now you've got a great front door to email. Let's just theoretically say I give this guy 5 email addresses of people I know. The chances of them looking at this campaign and becoming backers is pretty high. And you can use language similar to, hey, Jeff was a backer of this campaign. He really thinks you would be into this as well. You guys can do this at the gym together. Again, whatever it is. But again, most important thing is you have a front door, you have an in. And I'll tell you, if I got an email from one of my neighbors or buddies of mine and they told me to go check this out, I would probably go check it out. And you probably would as well. So that's a great opportunity to kind of double down on this. The other thing is at points like this, this guy's only done 3 updates and his campaign's been up for, I think, 8 days or so. I try to do an update every day. I try to thank the backers. So that might be something as well to get the momentum going. I might want to announce a reward. Hey guys, we just added the color red. We can do the color red, whatever. This is a great time to add stretch goals if you don't have them in your campaign. Hey, what happens if you hit 50K? What would happen? So think bigger a little bit too. So that's something that you could think at. Kickstarter Live is something that is new. If you want to take care, let's just take an example here with My Mix to Go. Well, go to the gym and show it with Kickstarter how it would work. Show, instead of this being just a photo, make it a live thing where you're making drinks and show how yours makes it easier. If you are going to do a Facebook Live, make a Facebook event a Kickstarter Live, make a Facebook event for it, do a Facebook Live event as well, do a Kickstarter Live event, and treat them like, hey, this is going to be a cool thing that we're doing. We're going to show it off. If you've got prototypes, go on Kickstarter Live and go to the factory and show where your 3D printer thing is making it or your prototype's being made, wherever it is, and just let people become a part of the campaign. So that's some ways to get engagement that doesn't cost a lot of money. All of these things I suggest over and over and over. I know they work. They're specifically designed for a rescue type style where the momentum is stopped. You've got 20 days to go. You're in what we call the lull of despair, and you just got to get that energy going again and push the button. And then always remember too that you're gonna have a big front. The first week is usually big, and the last couple of days are big. So how do you amplify those moments and then keep that lull of despair in the middle as good as you can get it, right? So try to get a press in the middle there. Try the double downs technique I was talking about. Try to find ways to engage, announce a stretch goal, all this sort of stuff in the middle. Go search out for podcasts you can be on. Go on iTunes and just search for entrepreneur podcasts. Might be something to search for and see if you can't pitch yourself and get on some of those. So but yeah, so that's some techniques to look at, and if you have questions on that, just shoot me an email, okay? So hopefully you guys loved all that information. Those are some of the tips and tools and techniques I talk about on my consulting calls. It's also, these are things that don't cost much money, and it's hopefully driving people to your inbox, right? If you get them to your inbox, you get those email addresses, it becomes so much easier. Something I didn't talk about that I wanted to chat about too is also think about starting to promote on forums. This is obviously something that should have been done prior to you launching, but right now is a great opportunity to go and Google a keyword and a forum and see if you can join some of those groups, talk about them, put yourself in these forums, into the conversations, and then eventually after a couple days of you talking back and forth, asking questions, then see if you can guide them to your Kickstarter page. But don't go into these forums and just start spamming them with, buy my Kickstarter, you should go to my Kickstarter. You got to imagine that there's human beings on the other side of this. So the reality is, let's get into the reality here. I can't cover everything that you need in one hour webinar, even if we had all day. You're probably feeling a little overwhelmed right now. If you just break it down and do them step by step, I think you'll be fine. Start with the green inbox, start with that personal outreach techniques, and then move on from there. If you're not seeing momentum after a couple days, don't spend any more money, flat out. It's better for you to save your money. Think about relaunching. Maybe have another conversation with me about about how do you refocus your campaign and go at it again. But I can't cover everything. Just can't do it right now. And I want this to be impactful for you. I want you to, after this hour, 45 minutes to an hour, I want you to be able to go and start some of these techniques because you've got to get the ball rolling now. Also, I hope you want to keep this experience going. I hope if you are acting fast, you'll take advantage of everything I'm talking about and get that momentum going. The other thing too is, and I haven't mentioned this, is that I have a podcast. 3 days a week, I have episodes coming out with successfully funded projects. And the reason I'm listing all these crowdfunders is that this is techniques and stuff that I'm up to date. I have my info is as literally stuff that was happening a couple weeks ago or last month, right? One of the biggest issues I have seen on the internet is you'll find what somebody did in 2014 on for a campaign, and the internet has completely changed. So I want my information to be as up to date as possible, and that's why I'm listening to crowdfunders. That's why I'm doing all these podcast interviews. That's not only just training for myself, but this is information that I get to pass on to you. So you have two options, flat out. You can go it alone. You can spend tens of thousands of dollars, maybe hundreds of thousands of hours trying to figure out this stuff, wasting the next 3 to 5 years of your life trying to get your project off the ground. That's an option for you. Another option is you might be able to just shut this thing off and just, put your tail between your legs and go back. I hope you're not thinking about that. Option 2 is that you can learn this proven system from somebody like myself. And it's not just that I've done it once. I know I'm at a master level, and I'm pretty darn good at it. And I know the tips and techniques I just showed you probably weren't aware of. So that's another option. Again, I want to stress this enough. What I'm offering now is not for you if you're looking to get rich quick. And also if you're expecting results without doing the stuff I just talked about. If you're not going to go do it, it's not going to happen. So, what I'm going to offer you now is not for you. Sorry you wasted your time. If I could give it back to you, I would. So personally for myself, I also had two choices, right? So I had an option to make a product as cheap as possible, literally like, hey, for $19, I'll give you this roadmap. But if I would have done that, it would have put me into all the other agencies out there, and that's not who I am. I hope by this point you've understood that that I'm really trying to give you as much information as possible and really make sure that you're successful. And my second option, it just requires a little bit higher investment. But in exchange, I can devote more time to learning new tips and techniques, be on call, more hours of the day. I can just be there if you have a question or concern. So that's why today I'm offering you the Rescue Crowdfunding Roadmap. So you're like, oh, I'm not spending any money. I get it. You've spent a ton of money. What I just talked about was this. I just scratched the surface. What this roadmap will do is literally walk you through everything. Some automation techniques, contacts that you can have for press, Kickstarter contacts. I've got some of those as well. This is everything that you need to get this campaign not just funded, but into next stratosphere level. And I'm offering that today for $497.97. And I understand it's a ton of money for a project creator. I can't stress it enough how much I'm giving you. It's over 10 gigs of content with the latest tips, tricks, and tools in crowdfunding. You have seen in this webinar what you can do in the next couple days to get it going. This is how do you really truly succeed in crowdfunding from the start to the finish. A pre-marketing strategy that works every single time. So that's why I'm doing this. I want you guys to pick this up. It also comes with 24/7 support from myself, Paul Luan, Sean Neal. My team is on this. You can, chat with us, ask us questions, send us a video to tweak, whatever it might be. You get access to my team. And I have to ask this question. Really, what's one new backer worth to you? What if that backer turns into a lifetime subscriber? What if they turn into somebody that's an influencer that is connected in the industry? That's the great thing about backers. If you can get these guys on board, these early adopters become your initial army. They're the ones helping you with project number 2 or the redesign or whatever it might be. And what is that worth to you and your company and your brand and your idea? Truly think about that. It should be worth gold. It should be what you're going for. That's why a lot of times in my calls, I ask my project creators to not think about the money, but think about the amount of backers. I see a campaign with 30 backers who are just gung-ho about it. That can create viral momentum. That can create a movement. It takes that idea. So, yes, the dollars help, but it's the backers who really make this thing go. So that's why, again, I want to stress it enough. I'm offering this up today. It's my Rescue Crowdfunding Roadmap. $497. Man, what is that? What is that for the year? It's a couple cents, a couple dollars a day. I mean, not ridiculous amount of money to be spent to have what I teach my clients, what I'm working with clients like Cream, the Wrecking Crew. These are the tips and techniques that I've used in the past. It's up to date, and I also update our content. As I said, if I learned something new, I'm making a video and I'm sending it to you so that you have the most up-to-date information. And I don't want you to spend the next 3 to 5 years trying to figure out crowdfunding. That's too late. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. You have access to myself and my team. Pick up my roadmap today, and we're going to get your project funded. All right, thanks so much for joining me for a webinar. If you've got questions, shoot me an email, jeff@woodshed.agency. I'm going to leave this up right now. I'm going to put an offer up as well. I'd love if you'd check it out. If you got questions about it, if you want to split the payments into multiple payments, we can do that as well. We've got a bunch of options. Talk to me. Don't be a stranger. Don't go dark. I'm a human being. There's a guy on the other end of this webinar who wants to help, and I want to get your project funded. And I hope you pick up my roadmap. All right, thanks so much for your time. Also, that's another thing. I understand how valuable everybody's time is. We're all busy. The fact that you're here right now and you've spent time with me, I really, truly appreciate it. If you know other people that are making projects, and they want to get funded, have them get in touch with me. All right. Hope everybody has a great rest of the day. Thanks so much.